Spooked up. Welcome.
Start this shit up, yeah. Welcome, guys. How's it going? How are the levels? Good? Checking all the levels.
Making sure nobody's slamming their fist down on the table.
Welcome. How's it going? Good?
Good, man. It's good.
Yeah.
Been a good week.
Welcome to another episode of the Radio Toons podcast. I'm Steve.
I'm Ernie.
And Ernie finished The Defenders, Marvel's Defenders.
Yep.
And we thought, why not? Let's just hear Ernie's thoughts on it.
Yeah, and finally get your thoughts on it, because to be honest, the last time we talked about it, I think it was like 3 episodes ago. You were saying
I was very reserved because I didn't want to spoil
reserved.
anything and all that.
And we're gonna do so many spoilers here.
Yeah, we'll just spoil it all.
Spoil-tastic.
I think everyone's seen it who's wanted to see it by now and all that.
And it follows comics pretty. It the way when I saw it, I'm not a huge Daredevil fan or anything like that, but it seems to follow a certain story that I believe is it's in line with the comics. So this has been a storyline that's been around.
Is it? I didn't know that.
It follows some of the suits. That's what I'm saying.
All I know is that every time I Google one of these fucking comic book heroes, I get all these spoilers, so I just stopped doing it. Like I googled Winter Soldier, and I got the whole fucking plot to the movie, and I was like, man, okay, I'm just not gonna do this anymore. So
you know what really sucked is before I watched The Dark Knight Rising. I was like, oh, dude, that chick that he falls in love with looks familiar. So I was like, IMDb, and go and look at her, and it says Ra's al Ghul's daughter.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh wait, it just spoiled the entire movie.
Yeah,
for me.
exactly.
I totally.
So I can't do
stop
that.
looking things up, man.
I used to do that with video games. Anytime I was playing a game, if I wanted like a background for it on my computer or something, I would just resist the urge to Google anything about it because I was like, it's gonna spoil it. It's just gonna spoil it for me. So
yeah, that's it, and it's and they can't really tell you like spoiler alert because you're literally looking for information on.
That used to happen with shows too. Sometimes I would Google shows and it's like some character's missing a head all of a sudden. I'm like, fuck, like man.
No. After the 4th season, when this character dies, you're like, oh,
yeah, exactly.
I'm
like, damn it. Or like some meme, and it's just like, oh, when that feeling when this character's dead, and I'm like, god damn it, yeah, whatever, yeah.
I mean, that's. I think that's how Cindy got How I Met Your Mother spoiled for her.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know what? Facebook is such a fucking. It's so bad when it comes to that because people will just post stuff and it'll like in the case of that How I Met Your Mother, they just posted the mother's picture on Facebook or whatever.
Yeah. And
that's supposed to be like a big reveal because that's the whole point of the show. Is
that's okay. So she followed the account like on, I think it was like Instagram. And they showed a picture of the mother because like we were always like a couple months behind because we always waited for it to come up on Netflix.
Yeah.
I was like, you gotta stay off of there. They'll reveal it. And she's like, sure enough. So
it's fucking stupid, man. Social media.
Anyways, The Defenders.
Yeah.
I gotta say, overall, I liked it.
Okay.
And you're pretty correct. I think I agree to some extent that the fight in the tower is the best fight.
Episode 3 is the best.
I don't know if it's the best, but it has the best fight because it's the one that shows the most.
Yeah, okay.
Because one thing that I guess they went back to is, and a great thing about the Daredevil series was that they hid. They kept a lot of it in shadow.
Yeah. Right?
But they also started doing quick cuts, and I don't like quick cuts. I think it was a style that was around in the early 2000s. But I don't like it because it feels like I'm missing.
Well, Daredevil was a show that didn't have a lot of that. That's why I liked it.
No, yeah, it had like huge long shots.
Yeah,
I love that, and they did that for a bit, but then at the end, at the climax of the whole thing, when they're down in the they're down in the bones or something. And by the way, I didn't know what the hell that was.
Okay, anyway. Yeah. So if you don't know, or if you watched it, you obviously know that. The hand is drilling into the ground.
Right.
They're digging into the earth because they're trying to they're trying to open like the skeleton that is the dragon that Iron Fist defeated. Right. Because its bones apparently create eternal life somehow.
Yeah, like the bone marrow or something. And
yes.
they keep calling it the substance.
Yeah, something like that.
Throughout the whole thing, yeah.
And so yeah, the whole ending episode is them like down in like this
They're in the
cave.
bones.
Yeah, it's like a cave cavern looking area.
Right. Which by the way is confusing because how the hell did it end up under New York?
I don't know.
Because remember, Iron Fist says when he's talking to Luke Cage, he's like, "So you got your powers punching the dragon in the heart." He's like, "Yeah, I was made of molten lava." He's like, "Cool." Right? And I was like, "Wait, so how did it end up under New York?"
I don't know because the Iron Fist opens the gate to Kunlun.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it's like you can create a gate anywhere, and he seals it.
Oh.
Or something like that. I have no fucking clue, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, that part was a little confusing.
It's because Iron Fist is this character that has all this mythology behind him and all this like backstory, and they don't really do a good job of like.
No, they don't. And it's great because Jessica.
I don't mean in the Defenders. I mean in Iron Fist itself.
Oh no, really?
They don't do a really good job of like telling you. I mean, they do a good job of telling you, I guess, but there's just so much there. Basically, it's hard to go over it all in a fucking 10-episode series, you know.
Wow, it's kind of disappointing because like the great thing was in, like, the great thing in Defenders is that you have somebody from every aspect of life,
right?
You know, and like I was saying before, they have this great montage in the beginning where they all are set in their colors and then they all come together.
Yeah.
And at the end, they do the same thing when they go back to their lives, they go back into their respective colors. But one thing in the dynamic that we were talking about, I don't know if we talked about it in the last episode, was the way that the characters mesh together.
Yeah.
Right? But when they're in the group dynamic, when they're the four, Jessica Jones is always the one that's like, are you, like, this all sounds crazy.
Right.
Like, she's the voice of the audience that's going like, I'm sorry, this guy is the what?
Yeah.
Like, what is all this? Like, I liked her in Defenders because she just seemed to be the most grounded.
Let me point something out real quick. One thing I didn't really like was I think it actually is in episode 3 as well. There's a part where Jessica Jones is trailing Daredevil, right?
Right.
She doesn't know that he's Daredevil. She just thinks he's like a lawyer guy.
Right.
She's trailing him, and she finds out like, oh, she sees him jump,
right,
like all crazy, and she takes pictures of him.
Right.
Daredevil has super hearing. You're
right.
telling me he didn't hear somebody trailing him the whole time into a back alley or like the lens of a fucking camera? Those
True.
That's like something that I was like, okay.
He's super slick.
He in every other regard, he's always like very aware of that stuff, you know.
True. Yeah.
So I just like when I see stuff like that, I kind of have to think like, do you guys forget that that's Daredevil? Like,
I forget, what was he running off to do?
I don't know, but he basically like put his stick away and he jumped off like a dumpster or something, and he jumped over a wall and stuff.
He basically went into an alley and jumped into another alley, and then she took out her camera and caught a few. She snapped off a couple pictures.
Yeah.
And by the way, I didn't think Matt Murdock was that like messed up because he took her like, I would assume $3,000 camera, just smashed it. And she was like, "Hey, boom." But I mean, like, I don't know. That part was kind of dumb because like I'm sure it's on the SD card, so it's probably still good.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I liked, like I said, I like Jessica Jones. She's probably like, it made me want to go see her series.
Well, I was just gonna list a few of the things I didn't like about.
Okay.
So so at the end of the show, end of the series, they're setting up for that one big battle, and then Luke Cage is like, "Okay, I got a plan, but you're not gonna like it." And then the elevator comes down, and it's just Jessica, and she says like,
"Oh yeah, this part."
A few words, and then she's just like, "But I'm not gonna fight you alone." And then like they come in swinging, and I was like, "That was the plan?"
Plan was stupid.
I was like, "That was so fucking stupid." Like what? What did that accomplish?
First of all, why didn't they just have Luke Cage there? Because he could take all the bullet fire if they have guns. Because I assume they did have guns. It was like, just stand behind Luke Cage. He's pretty big.
I love how, by the way, every time they have guns, Luke Cage stands there and they only shoot Luke Cage. They don't think to shoot anywhere else but Luke Cage.
He's the biggest target, man.
Yeah, sure. But I don't know, like that part in particular, I was like, how was that a plan? Like you guys
that was stupid.
It was you guys, when you guys have a plan, you have to like. I thought they were gonna take them all out in like one quick swoop or something, or like, I don't know. It just felt like
it was dumb. There's a lot of that in the series. I feel
Well, look, okay.
Keep going with yours.
One other thing was, like I said, the parts where it felt like they weren't really utilizing their superhero abilities, basically. Mm-hmm. Like, think about in episode 3 when Luke Cage and Iron Fist are fighting. When Luke Cage punches that guy into the wall and you see the wall, like, crack, you're like, dude, that's fucking badass. Like, that's what you want to see. But, like, I don't know, they just don't use that all the time. There's that scene, and then there's a scene at the end, in the last episode where Luke Cage, like, breaks a wall. Or, like, he tears panels off of a wall.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's about it. Like, when else are they, like, solving problems with their abilities, basically? You know, like...
Almost like a video game. He's like, this character's up because there's this thing that'll...
Yeah, like, it would be cool to see that. Like, hardly ever does Iron Fist even use his fucking fist in the series. Like...
Really?
You can count it on your hand, I think. It's like 4 or 5 times that he does it. Like...
Oh, and I didn't get why he just lost it at some point.
Okay.
Remember, like, at the end, he's just like, oh, it just went away.
That is something else that is, like the whole Iron Fist show, or, like, that whole season, is them just fucking teasing you with, like, oh, I need to concentrate my chi. It's like, oh, I lost it. I can't do it anymore. Like... Like, and in one hand, mind you, because in Marvel games, both of his hands are constantly glowing.
And his legs. He can do it with his legs, too.
Yeah, he can do stuff with his legs, but his fists are constantly glowing, and he can heal, and he has all these other powers with it.
Yeah.
And in this show, it's just, like, his one fucking fist that just, like, it looks like he's holding, like, a fucking glow stick or something. I'm like, dude, like, just get to the point where this guy is good, or, like, where he's good at what he does already, because it's just, ugh. I don't know.
You know what I really hated was that Luke Cage's story was over before it even started.
What do you mean?
Well, because like Luke Cage, essentially what they did is they used Luke Cage to Luke Cage's storyline to start them on the path, but then it never gets resolved because it's just like the people that he went to help, like the family he went to help, they all just die because they all got murdered. He starts because there's
there's like some kid.
Yeah, it's two kids that he's trying to help because the one kid got into it and died.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, okay, well, I was too late for that.
It was pretty sad though.
It was really sad. It was really sad.
You're talking about the part where like, so that kid dies in jail or something.
Yeah, because remember he tells like when Luke Cage goes to visit him first, he says, "I'm trying to help you." He's like, "You can't help me. I got to do this."
Yeah.
Then he gets caught by the police. So then he goes to visit the kid in jail, and he's like, "Hey, man, you gotta let me help you." He's like, "There's no helping me, but you know what? I used to buy my grandma, or I think my mom, lottery tickets. So make sure that she sees those lottery tickets." And that's where all the cash that he had made
there's like
is
a
hidden.
big ass bundle of cash and there's like a ticket in there.
Yeah,
for her to leave town or something.
Right, and then they pair that with the fact that she gets the call right then that they essentially murdered him, and so that's where his story ends, because it's like, we can't let them do this to any of the other kids in Harlem. And then they stop doing that to all the kids in Harlem because at that point they start to go like into better things.
Okay, not to go off on a tangent, but Luke Cage is a good example of like when that show starts, he's bulletproof. That's it. He's just badass throughout his whole series basically. He has like an arc as far as like why he's like that, or discovering who did that to him, or his family and stuff like that. But there's no, like, him discovering how to use his powers, And it's the same with Daredevil. When it starts, it's just like, he's pretty much fucking Daredevil, Like,
he's Daredevil in that he has his abilities, but he hasn't refined them.
He doesn't have his suit.
Right, well, that's what I'm seeing. He hasn't refined it. Like, Stick also trains him a little bit more towards the end of the series, and then you find out that he's, like, you need to, like, remember at one point, I think it's the end of season 1, he's trying to find Kingpin.
Uh-huh.
And then somebody's like, you have to relax, you have to focus, you have to, like, and he's learning how to use his like,
oh, okay, yeah,
isolating the noise thing, So his and I remember watching that series a couple times because I really like some scenes, but he grows with his character. Not to mention he gets new weapons. He gets better suits and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, he grows with his power.
Well, it's funny too. You mentioned Stick. Mm-hmm. Okay, so spoilers from here on out. I mean, we've probably already spoiled some things, but I'm just getting into major spoilers now. Like, Stick dies.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that coming.
Sure, but I almost
a badass character. I really
almost
liked him.
felt like they didn't even care. He dies, and then like they show his. I mean, okay. Things are moving kind of fast in the show because
they move very fast.
Because when he dies, they take him all to jail. Remember that? So I guess there wasn't a time for them to mourn, but I just felt like one fucking line of dialogue of them saying like, oh, "Man, I can't believe Stick is dead. He was like a father to me," or like something like that. Like,
well, if you remember the chain of events, like the chain of events is they all get knocked out by Elektra. They all Stick gets killed. And this is after he cuts off his own hand, which is really badass. But, right, like, immediately after that, they go to jail. And then immediately after that, they have to go fight in the tower. And then immediately after the tower falls, and, you know, everybody has to go their separate ways away.
By the way, any scene like that, any scene in superhero stuff where you have the cops saying, like, we can handle it.
They never handle
like,
it.
Just fuck off with those scenes. I'm so tired of that. Like, the whole time they're detaining them and telling them, like, you guys need to let the police handle this because you guys are not qualified. I'm like, just kill the cops or something. Just get them out of here, dude. This is not fun to watch. Why do we care? Like,
you know, that's one of the better points of Daredevil. Because remember, Daredevil... He helps one of the B cops. He's like, you need to take this collar because you need to move up. When you move up, you can, you know, we can help clean up the town. Like, he works with the cops. And he works with that guy. And because he knows that they got to bring in the Kingpin in the law.
Okay,
you know?
but, okay, is that the... Okay. I don't want to spoil anything for other shows, but in one of the shows, there is a cop that's like a traitor. I think it's Daredevil, right? One of the cops is like a traitor or something. Well, anyway, when that's going on, I'm like, okay, at least there's a reason for the cop to be there, you know?
In
like,
Daredevil or in another series?
It might be in another series, but it's a Marvel series.
I think it must be Luke Cage.
Probably, but anyway, like, okay, if he's there in this scene or something, it's because he's a bad guy and it makes sense.
Right.
If they're just there to say like, you guys need to let the cops handle it, then just go away. Like
I remember in the podcast where we kind of went over the first 3 episodes, you were like, there's this point where she says we're not that different. And I was like, damn it, that sounded so heavy-handed.
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver says that, right?
Yeah, and I gotta say there was a lot of heavy-handed moments in the series because I felt like we need to get this going. Like that felt like the mentality was like there's so much going on, and they're like, how can we get from point A to point B the fastest? And they're just like, this doesn't matter that much, so let's just have them say the most arbitrary
what
line.
I didn't like? Okay, so it kind of goes into what you're saying. There's a part where Foggy brings Matt his suit, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, they're going to bust out of here, finally. They don't even show it. The fucking, like, camera shakes, and then they're just like, they're gone. And I'm like, are you serious, dude? I was like, they're fucking super... Like, show me Luke Cage breaking through a wall. Why do you think I pushed play on this fucking series? I want to see Luke Cage punch through a wall. You know, like, I just...
And you don't even know if it was Luke Cage.
It just
could have been Jessica.
Okay, yeah, exactly. It just felt like they were just like, just get him to the next scene. Like, it's like, why? Why did you do that? You guys have so much potential in this group, and you're not using, like, any of it.
I mean, I would say only because they were focusing on that lady getting, like, she had to go talk to the captain about, dude, I really think we should trust these guys. And then right away when she's saying that, they're like, fuck! They broke out. It's your bad, you know, like... And by the way, that came out of left field when they chopped off her arm. I was like, why?
Oh, yeah, because, Misty Knight is apparently in the comic books, her character.
Is she not?
She is in the comic book.
She is in the comic book?
So I assume that's going to turn her into something...
Is she a superhero?
Yeah, I guess so.
Because I like that... Okay, so...
She's a cool character.
Here's one of the things I didn't like.
Uh-huh.
Why did they have to... And again, this is a lot of spoilers. Why did they have to reveal Daredevil at the end? I wanted them to leave that ambiguous. Because it felt so... Like, when you saw the shot of is it Karen? Is Karen with Foggy and Karen were the two people that worked with Matt?
Yeah.
Okay. when both Foggy and her are looking at the door and don't see Matt coming.
Yeah, it's really
that
sad.
part felt like really heavy.
Yeah, it was actually very sad. Yeah,
and I was like, oh my gosh, they know, and then like it hits them and she turns. I was like, dang, that's really powerful. And then like there's a like. You see Iron Fist is basically taking the place of Matt because he's standing above, the city and he's
You almost think
fist.
like it's Daredevil.
You almost think like it's Daredevil, and they do like this little reveal that it's not Daredevil, but you're like, is that them hinting
and
at
here's
like,
fucking Iron Fist still with one fist
it's just
and
with
not
one little fist,
yeah.
and he still like has his shirt open for some reason. No, I don't think he does. And then they just cut to Matt. I'm like, dude, no.
Yeah.
Just leave it, or maybe like.
Well, you know
maybe
what?
they could have just shown his stick.
Okay, you know
or
what?
something, but like just full on, they showed him right there. I was like, ah.
Here's what I found weird about that in particular. So in Iron Fist, right? The hand is a big part of it, and they reveal that the hand can bring people back from the dead.
Right.
But in that show specifically, there's a certain character that they constantly bring back from the dead, and every time he comes back from the dead, he's more insane. He's not himself. So
you're talking. This is in the Iron Fist.
This
series?
is an Iron Fist. Okay. So what they're constantly telling, the people. It's okay. So it's hard not to reveal it, but it's like okay. So it's somebody's. They're related to. Okay, I'm gonna cut all this out.
We should just leave it in because this is like you working through this.
Okay. So the guy keeps getting regenerated or revived. He's more evil every single time.
There's like a Ra's al Ghul kind of
character. That led me to believe that there's a cost to bringing somebody back from the dead.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because Elektra has no soul.
Right. When Elektra came back, I was like, okay, so she's evil. There's no bringing her back.
Right.
And then Matt, like, somehow reaches her in the end. Right?
Arguably, because he didn't really tell her we're gonna be good now. They're just like, let's die together.
And
he told her let's just die together.
Yeah, and she says I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So she is kind of there, but to me in my head I'm just like, okay, so they can just bring people back from the dead, and death is nothing. Death is just not like a fucking.
Well, I mean, to bring her back to life, right? They had to bleed. 6 individuals like 24/7 and do all like this, because remember when they brought her, like they were doing the whole like tomb filled up with blood and stuff. They had to do that for a while. It wasn't just like, hey, let's bring her back to life. So they
well, I mean, in Iron Fist they kind of make it seem like,
well, maybe that's Iron Fist because I don't know, but the Elektra one was like it was a long time coming because they showed that thing in like the beginning of season 2. And then they were like, it's for later. And even that ninja guy that you really like,
yeah, Nobu,
he was like, we got to protect this thing, and so he was protecting it for a while.
Yeah, I don't know, like, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe Iron Fist, it wasn't the same thing, but I'm pretty sure it was.
Well, either way, I mean, they're dealing with chi, and then like the hand is dealing with like blood and stuff.
It was the hand, though. I'm pretty sure
it was the hand.
Yeah, okay, whatever. I don't know. But
either way, it seems like
my whole point was like, once you start introducing like, oh, we can just bring people back from the dead, it's like, so killing off characters doesn't really mean anything anymore. Well, because you could always just kind of like fall back on like, they
got regenerated.
Yeah, like, well, maybe he'll just come back from the dead, like.
Well, I think they made it a little more permanent because the ninja guy didn't come back after his death in season 1, because they could have just brought him back because he was badass.
Okay, this is what I'm saying though, for future reference, right?
Right.
Somewhere down the line in the comic books, Captain America dies, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Right.
So if that happens in the movies, I feel like people are just going to say, why can't they just bring him back to life? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, now that the technology exists in this universe, why can't that just always be the solution? It just feels kind of like a...
Well, I mean, I think what they're trying to instill is that if you bring somebody back, it's like unnatural. Which is why when Elektra came back, she was... Not only was she kind of insane, she was unbelievably evil. I mean, she didn't even have a heartbeat.
Yeah.
She's not really a person kind of thing.
Yeah, okay.
And so, like... And you wouldn't want to bring Cap back like that anyway,
Who?
Cap.
Yeah.
Captain America,
Sure.
But other than that, like, that was my biggest gripe with it, was that, like, I get it. People love Daredevil and we want to see a Daredevil season 3, but I don't... I did not like that they showed him at the end.
That's what I mean.
They
it's like
just cut that out.
So, the fact that they showed him at the end, are they bringing him back to life, or did somebody, like, did some ninja sneak in there and grab them both before they got squished?
My assessment is that Elektra brought him out. Because remember, she's all super powered, right? So she probably, because she doesn't need to eat or anything, she's like living dead. She probably survived that thing and pulled him out. And then she took him somewhere far away so that they could start their life over. That's what I'm getting. Because remember, they were always like, let's just go and be together. You know? And the fact that he wasn't like in a hospital, like he wasn't at the hospital in New York City.
It actually looked like in Iron Fist, the Hand has like hideouts that look like colleges.
Like I thought there was a nun there.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so I think he's on. Like, I think he's off in some like third world country, and he's just healing up. I think that's just something. Either Elektra just dropped him off there and said like, "I'm gonna go do my thing," but I'm gonna do him.
Why didn't Iron Fist just fucking seal it up again? Wouldn't that have saved him?
I don't think he knows how to do it.
That's like the crutch of the whole series. Is Iron Fist doesn't know shit. Like,
dude,
it really,
like he's like
he is.
He is probably the weakest of them because he doesn't know enough, and he's so like
like
for lack of a better word, he gets triggered so easily.
Yeah, because
like anybody says anything bad, and he's like, I've been training for this my entire life.
Yeah, because
it's just and that sucks because like he's like, I've been training for this fight my entire life. And he gets his ass kicked.
Well, they tie him up in a chair. Like, remember at one point they have to like watch him like he's a child.
Yeah, well, because he's just an idiot. He's like, dude, I gotta go do this thing. He's like, but you understand that if they catch you, the whole thing's over. You know, he's like, yeah, but I gotta go. I was like, why? Just stay here. Like everybody is like, dude, just stay here and we can solve this problem. And you're just like, no, I gotta run right into him. It's just like, and he's such a child. He's like, you guys are my enemies. And I was like, no, we're not your enemies. You're just being stupid.
Yeah, I don't know.
God, it's really.
That's what I mean by
he was by far the weakest character.
He was kind of the crutch. Like they were all kind of.
But the whole thing rests on him. That's the part that I don't like.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why he's a crutch because all of the writing was like, okay, and then Iron Fist fucks up, and then some stuff happens, and then Iron Fist fucks up, or like
And then.
I watched this. I watched the series twice too. To be fair.
Which one, Defenders or Iron Fist?
Yeah, I watched it through twice because I wanted to make sure I wasn't being too hard on it like the first time.
No,
to be honest, it's pretty bad.
No, it's pretty bad because like I was while I was watching, I was rewatching. No. He is pretty bad.
Okay.
Like not the series. He's pretty bad, and not for the actor. The actor did a great job. I really believe like his portrayal made me so irritated because he was playing that part exactly how I thought Danny Rand as he was represented. I was like, he's just a hothead, and this is how he is, But even there was some good moments with him. Like for example, one of my favorite episodes was the Chinese restaurant because I know it was a lot of exposition, but it felt like they were growing as characters, just talking to each other.
That's a good example of like an episode where, okay. This crazy guy comes out, that black guy, and he starts fighting Luke Cage, and he starts like hitting pinpoints on him or something.
Yeah.
And he starts knocking off like his chi or something, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was he in Iron Fist?
No.
Okay, all right.
That's my point.
And also, was he part of the 5?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was. Okay.
But he was new to the series as well. Yeah. Luke Cage gets hit by a truck. You don't see both of them again until Luke Cage shows up at the dojo smiling, and he's like, I got one of them. And I'm like, okay, it would have been real nice to see that, dude. Like,
I feel like, now that you're pointing it out, it feels like they did, like I said, how I said in the beginning, I was like, they use Luke Cage to get into it, and then they just, whatever.
Yeah.
And now, like, you've already pointed out 2 times where they're like, he had this great action scene where they just, that happened off screen.
I want to see the deleted shit, dude. Like, can I just follow Luke Cage down into that fight or whatever? Because like I said, dude, like the stuff that's going on while that is supposedly going on is like them jumping into a sewer and getting away from like Madame Gao or something. I'm like, I don't fucking care.
By the way, Madame Gao, the lady whoever played her did a great job.
Yeah, she's a She was in Daredevil, right?
She was in Daredevil and she did her thing, but the fact that they revealed that she could focus chi and she could do like
they revealed that in Daredevil, remember?
Do they?
Yeah, she has like a factory of blind people, right?
Right.
Daredevil approaches her at one point and she
Oh, you're right. That's like season 1. Yeah. But they don't use it again after that.
They do. But what I was gonna say is like
in Daredevil?
No, sorry, you're right. Yeah. I meant in Defenders, they do.
Oh. In Defenders, they use it very sparingly, too, because it probably takes a toll on her. Which I thought that was good.
Yeah.
They didn't overuse it.
But it just, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to say about that. I'm not saying it looks silly or anything.
The way she goes, ah!
Yeah.
And she just pushes
But
people?
it just seemed like there was times where I was like, why didn't Madame Gao just fucking punch that thing or whatever, like she always does? Or like...
I'm telling you, it takes a lot out of her.
Yeah,
just like,
sure, okay.
Like,
yeah.
And that's why they were... It makes sense that Gao and Susan Sarandon's character were so like...
You mean Sigourney Weaver.
Sigourney Weaver. Sigourney Weaver. That's right. Susan, I don't know why I have her on the mind. I think it's because I was watching Rick and Morty. I think she guest stars. Anyway, they are both very much concerned with dying. Because they are visibly the two oldest characters there, and then her name's Alexandra in the series, right?
Yeah, something like that.
She is literally dying, but they don't really show what it is she's dying from. But like she's taking pills and blah blah blah. So they're obviously weathered.
Yeah, that's
which makes sense is why Gao can't use her powers as much as anybody else. Because like the other dude, who's like, by the way, that guy was cool. He was like taking apart a wolf while he was talking to Alexandria. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Which guy? The Asian guy?
The Asian dude who just only speaks in Japanese.
Yeah, he was cool. He was cool,
but that's all he was. He was cool. That was it. Like, he had no substance whatsoever.
I just feel like, as far as that goes, it's like, if you introduce, like, these 5 people that are supposed to be badass, like, you know, show us that, you know? Like,
but that's the thing. They showed Gao in Daredevil. They had already set her up.
Yeah.
So she was good to go coming into this.
Well, that's what I mean, too. Is, like, she was hyped up, and it didn't really pay off for me. Like, there was a couple times where she pushed a car or she pushed a dumpster. But, like, I wanted to see the full extent of that, or I wanted to see her, like I don't know, she's old.
You think she's really dead?
She's old, so I wanted her to be, like, smarter, you know?
Right.
No, she escaped.
Right. But did she escape?
I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, she could fly.
It's because that last 15 minutes, it's really hectic. Like,
yeah,
so she's looking at the dude on the floor.
The
and
Japanese
like,
guy,
and she says, "The end."
Yeah, the Japanese guy's on the floor and he's dead.
Well, he's dying.
Yeah, and she says, "The end." Wait for after the credits. They do more stuff, and then like the whole cave is falling or whatever.
And does she run out? Because the elevator was the only way out.
I don't know. I really don't know, dude. I
mean, she could have possibly had a backup plan. I mean, she's pretty resourceful. That's why I say it, because like in Daredevil, supposedly he's like, I defeated all the people, and then at the end of Daredevil season 2, she's like, you thought you beat me? I've just been like
hiding.
I've just been hiding out.
Right? Yeah.
You haven't won. We're still doing our thing, just in secret.
Okay, so let me just point out the good parts, because I told you I watched the series twice. The part where they actually do exhibit their superhero abilities.
Yeah.
The part at the end where Jessica Jones holds up the elevator.
That's cool.
I was like, damn, that's cool.
That is super cool.
I was like, that would have been cool to see more of that throughout the series.
Yeah.
They even like stopped to show Luke Cage and Iron Fist looking at her, and she's like, stop staring and get up here. And I'm like, all right, like just fucking do more of that, you know, like whatever. Colleen Wing, the samurai girl. I was like, she was cool. She was doing a lot of fighting. I really liked her in the series.
I don't know why they didn't utilize her a little more.
I know.
Because like 2 episodes, she just sits around and does nothing.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess you can't really take so much time. Like, you know more than I do about the Iron Fist series. Is she more like, that whole relationship with her and her master seemed a little forced.
Mm-hmm. What's that guy's name?
I forget. He was one of the members of the Fist, or the Hand. And I was just like, this seems a little forced. And she does not seem like she's ready for this fight.
If you want the backstory on that, because I'm sure you're not going to watch Iron Fist.
Yeah.
Do you want to?
Yeah. Just tells
for anyone who was wondering, Colleen Wing is part of the Hand, or was part of the Hand, but she was a part of a faction that was controlled by that guy. I think his name is Boku or something, or...
Whatever his name is, we know who you're talking about. But
the Spanish-looking guy with the curly hair.
The guy who says like, "Hey, it's nice to see you again."
Yeah, that guy. He had kind of like a college campus. It looked like of like the hand trainees.
Oh, that's where all the ninjas came
And she
from.
was part of that, and she was part of that when she was really, really young. Right. So he's kind of like a father to her.
Okay.
So that's why they have that kind of.
So is that supposed to mirror Stick and Elektra?
Yeah, kind of, I guess. That's another thing I was gonna mention too. Is like, Elektra was one of the parts that I really liked about the show because Stick and Daredevil, like, they clearly love her. She's a big part of their life, and that scene where Stick, like, comes close to her neck with his blade, like he's like, "Fuck, I could have killed her, but I stopped myself, and it all could have been over, like right there." But you know, he's human, like everyone else, you know, and just I was like, man, that sucks because he died because of that, you know. It's because that's his like daughter basically, you know.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then the fact that like Matt was able to like turn her in the cave or whatever, I was like, all right, I guess, you know, that's cool. I mean, I didn't really like it just because it didn't make sense to me as far as like the science of whatever the substance does to a person's brain when it brings them back.
Yeah, and
but
it's
I was
supposed
just
to be like she's supposed to be a blank slate.
Yeah.
According to the way that like Alexandria describes her, she's like the vessel that you inhabited is like was this person, but you're not that person. You're the Black Sky.
Why do they keep calling her the Black Sky too? They don't even explain that.
She did. To be honest, that was the one gripe I had with Elektra. Is like she didn't seem all that powerful.
Yeah.
Like
okay.
She's called the Black Sky. Isn't she supposed to have some sort of like in the beginning? Didn't she cause like an earthquake or something?
I don't mean to keep talking about how they hide stuff in this show, but there's this training montage with Elektra. She's kicking people's ass, right?
Right.
The last challenge, they turn off the lights, they turn them back on, and she's all covered in blood with her swords or whatever. Right. I was just like, you know, that was supposed to be the final test, the one where she's like the most badass. Just show it to us, dude. Don't do this fucking cute little like, oh, it's turning the shadows, you know, like, no, you don't know what happened. Maybe she did. I don't know what's happened. And so I'm just like, God, dude, like, you know what's funny too? It's like as that was gonna happen, as like the guys were surrounding Elektra, in my head I was just like, they're gonna not show this. They're not gonna show this. There's no way they're gonna go
this
through
on the first viewing or the second one?
The first viewing. The first viewing, yeah, I was just like, there's no way they're gonna show this. They didn't. And they didn't. So it was just like, fuck, dude.
Man,
like,
they only have so much budget.
You know, I'm pretty sure Jessica Jones can fly too.
You told me that when I first started watching it. You're like, she can fly, but she chooses not to.
Yeah, because in the comic books they have like panels or whatever of her in her old costume because she used to be a superhero, flying around, and in Jessica Jones there's like a few caveat times that show like jump super high, so it's kind of like, oh, okay, so she still can fly, but maybe she just doesn't.
Maybe she just doesn't want to.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's implied that she did fly, isn't it?
When?
Because when the elevator like is gonna cut, it's not like she ran up.
No, exactly.
So she flew up there and grabbed the two cords so that they would be.
There's just some times where I'm like, flying would really help here, and you're telling me that she's just gonna not do it because of some weird pride reason. She's just not gonna fly.
I mean, it's already been established that she used to, and the only thing holding her back is she just doesn't want to be a superhero anymore. Okay,
but well, my whole point behind that was just like, show them be superheroes a little bit, like how
yeah, and you know what? The two people that they showed that weren't superheroes were Jessica Jones and Luke Cage.
Right.
You know, and it kind of sucks because, to be honest, when I saw the third episode where they were in the Chinese restaurant, Iron Fist and Luke Cage had this cool moment where they were just talking over like. He's like, dude, you're like, Luke Cage goes, you're still hungry? And he's like, it takes a lot to summon my chi, and he starts like eating more dumplings and stuff, and they go back and forth a little bit. I was like, this is gonna be the beginning of them being like, we should defend this city. Like we should team up, but then
I'm telling you, man, like they were actually cool together. Like they were actually.
They say something that's a little heavy-handed. He's like, dude, you know, we're on the same path, which is a little like saying you and me are not so different, kind of thing. But it's said in a classier way. And then at the end of the conversation, he's like, dude, listen, once we finish this, our paths end and we go our separate ways.
Uh-huh.
And then they revisit that at the end, and they say something similar once they leave the building. So it feels like they're gonna do that, because not only is Iron Fist staying in New York, and Luke Cage is like scot free because they say, "Oh, don't worry, you're not going back to jail." So I hope that means that they're like, the next season is gonna be like a joint one, because they work well together.
You know what is cool actually? When Danny says at the end of the series, he says, New York is starting to feel like home.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's cool, because if there's anything that I got from his series is that he's looking for like a family, basically.
Hey, he's like a vagabond. That's what I got from just the trailers and stuff. He's just been wandering.
he's just he comes back from Kunlun and he looks like a homeless man.
Right.
And he's just trying to.
He's just like, hey, this is my company.
And from what you learn at the beginning of the Defenders is that everybody in Kunlun is dead.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't there to protect the gate.
Right, because the Hand destroyed it.
Yeah, he's supposed to be there to defend the gate when it opens, and he wasn't. Because he's a fucking idiot, as you saw in the series. Yeah. So yeah, I will
say this: like, I really, really hope that when Daredevil, if they do Daredevil again with like season 3, I hope they really pair them with Jessica Jones, because I feel like you were saying too, is like they seem like two sides of the same coin. She's like Law and Order kind of thing. She could be investigating while Daredevil does like the courtroom stuff. She feels like a really good detective, but it doesn't seem forced. And he's just, he's just like whenever he does his courtroom scenes in Daredevil, he's just really good.
Oh, you know what's funny too? You know how, one thing that they kind of throw in your face constantly is the neon lighting in this show. When Jessica Jones is escorting her friend or whatever out of this restaurant, because somebody says like, oh, you know that friend of yours, we got her, or that nurse in the hospital, we got her, and they're all grouping up their friends and putting them in the police station. Jessica Jones goes to this restaurant and it's lit in blue, right? They go up to another floor and the floor is purple, so it's kind of like, okay, so then Daredevil's gonna appear because it's red and blue, right? Like,
I'm telling you, they did a great job.
They do a lot with this like lighting stuff,
I think they focused a little too much on it, to be honest, because it's a little heavy-handed in the beginning, but as they all come together, it starts to desaturate, and then it's just normal colors.
Yeah.
But they did revisit that at the end when they start going to their separate ways. They start lighting up the same way. Like when Jessica Jones goes back to her apartment, it's all blue again.
Yeah.
And then like when Foggy goes to see Luke Cage and what's her face in their apartment, it's tinged a little yellow.
Right.
So everybody goes back except for, and then Danny Rand, when he's on top of buildings, kind of green. But when they show Daredevil, it's just Daredevil.
It's gonna be interesting what they do after this, because there has to be Defender season 2, right?
I don't know, to be honest, because they grouped Punisher with Daredevil and Kingpin, right? They're all together, and Elektra.
Oh, Punisher's getting his own thing, right?
Yeah, and hopefully, well, I know that. I saw that article in Entertainment Weekly where they show that they're going to start doing his origin story.
That fucking picture that you showed me?
It looked awful.
I hope that's not real, dude.
It's real. It's part of the series.
That looks so
He looks really dumb in it.
Stupid.
I know. But they're going to show him going through the army.
Right.
So maybe that picture looks dumb because he's supposed to be like a rookie at that point.
Yeah, who knows?
And plus, remember, that's a shot of the scene, not the scene.
Yeah, maybe it was just a bad angle.
It could be, because he looks dumb with that helmet on, and he's making these stupid face in it.
I had heard that they're going to do Jessica Jones season 2 for sure.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and so I would assume that means that Iron Fist, Luke Cage as well are getting season 2. Well,
I don't know about Iron Fist, because they got, like, Iron Fist is the weakest of the... Critically, it was the weakest of all of them. Jessica Jones would say, like, a lot of people were standing up for that. I was like, dude, this is a great female role model.
I really like that.
Blah.
Well, I don't know.
That's not role model, I shouldn't say, but it's like strong female lead, and people really dug
there's a lot of female actors. Carrie-Anne Moss is one of the main characters.
She was in 2 episodes, and I was sorry to see her go.
Well, she's kind of a bitch, just to let you know.
Well, yeah, she does look like one, but, if a person plays that really well, you appreciate it.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
I would say if you're gonna watch any of those shows, I would recommend Jessica Jones. mostly because it's like, okay, she has superpowers, obviously.
Right.
That show is mainly like a thriller, I would say. There's like, cause the villain in that show is like actually a real fucking threat. Without spoiling too much, he's just a real threat. So, and it's cool to it's one of those shows where like the first episode you're like, what the fuck is going on? Second episode you're still kind of like, what the fuck is going on? Third episode you're like, oh, okay, everything kind of makes sense now. This is kind of crazy. I like it. Like that's kind of how that show progresses. Because I at one point I had to watch an episode over because I wasn't fully paying attention, and I was like, what the fuck is happening right now?
You really need to stop watching these things at 2 a.m.
You know, I put stuff on while I'm drawing or animating and stuff, so sometimes I just don't catch everything.
It's true. Yeah, I do that sometimes. But I don't know. The one I really want to see is, I mean, Daredevil. I definitely always want to see a new Daredevil, but I hope they, instead of doing a full-fledged series of some of these characters, I hope they just mash them up together. Maybe they don't do a Defenders. Maybe just in Daredevil Season 3, him and Jessica Jones team up or something. Cause
if they have a show with just Iron Fist and Luke Cage, I'm so fucking down for that because they were cool together.
They were cool. I think they were in a comic together called like Hero for Hire or something like that.
Yeah, that's their team or something.
Yeah, that would be great because, you know, Rand needs like a home and Luke Cage is still defending Harlem, so it makes sense.
His fucking sweater always got shot up, and he always got a new one. Why wouldn't they just let him stay with the one with the bullet holes in it?
I don't know. I thought that always looked cool. Like because like I watched a little bit of the first episode, but mostly like that trailer when it premiered, like all you saw was like key art of him with like he had his hands in his sweater pocket, and then just holes? Like bullet holes with little smoke coming out. I was like, dude, that looks so cool.
Luke Cage is not bad actually. It's a pretty good show. Iron Fist obviously the weakest link. I think yeah. That's a timely reference. Iron Fist, you are the weakest link. But yeah, so that's the Defenders for you. That's what
I would totally recommend watching it. Personally, the only one I would tell you to watch before you watch the Defenders is Daredevil through the end, because it really has the meat of the references for Defenders.
Yeah.
But you can I think they do a good enough job in Defenders to bring you into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because with Iron Fist, Luke Cage, and Jessica Jones, and this is coming from somebody who didn't watch them, I don't feel like I missed much, but I did get parts where, like, for example, Jessica Jones was like, listen, Luke, I know what I did to you was inexcusable. And he's like, you know what? Forget it. We just went through something. We're good. And they kind of squashed it. I was like, oh, I'd love to know what that is. And that's something to go back to the series and find out. But none of that felt like, oh, shoot, I totally missed something huge that was relevant to this series.
It kind of is. Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, their shows link up in a way, and it's actually pretty cool.
Well, I mean, I want to go. That's good though, because I want to go back and watch I want to go watch Jessica Jones at least.
Yeah, it would be cool.
But overall, I recommend it. I mean, it's a great series.
I thought it was good. There was just.
Where would you put it? Because you number one is definitely Daredevil, and at the bottom is Iron Man.
Iron Fist.
Sorry, I had an Iron Man marathon.
We just watched Iron Man 2, remember?
Yeah, we watched it again. Yeah. that movie still holds up, man.
It's fucking good, dude.
But okay, Iron Fist at the bottom, Daredevil at the top. Where would you put Defenders?
Shit, probably just right above Iron Fist.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I thought it was pretty damn good. So I mean, hopefully the other two are much better than.
You know what it is? It's just I think the Defenders, it was way too hyped up. I think they had a lot to like. What am I trying to say? They had big shoes to fill, and they didn't have. They couldn't do it basically. Like I'm sure somebody could have, but the team that they had and the way they executed it, maybe those time restraints, maybe they're because they have deadlines for all this shit because it needs to line up.
But that was the weird thing is that Defenders only had 8 episodes.
Yeah, 8 episodes, dude. And even some of those episodes were just like, man, this is dragging on. Like
really?
there is a lot.
I didn't feel dragging on. I felt like, dude, it's over already.
Yeah, no, there was just like that episode where they're in the Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
There was definitely some of those conversations where I was just like, man, just fucking stop. Or like, or like Jessica Jones leaves at one point. I'm like, you're not leaving. The show is called The Defenders. Like, just get them together, please.
Get your ass back in here. It's
she's
like,
not gonna.
Did you miss me? I was
yeah.
Like,
and even the end of that. I'm sorry, dude.
Did you miss me?
I'm sorry. The end. Yeah.
Oh no, she says, "Who missed me?" And they're
like so cliche. But even that last shot of that episode where they're standing there, I'm like, this looks like garbage, dude. Like, line their heads up better or something. Like, I was just like, what's the composition of these shots? Like, they're superheroes, for Christ's sake. They can look cool. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, because they did such a good job in that third episode. Like, that part where you mentioned that Luke Cage is, like, taking all the bullets.
Yeah.
And then Iron Fist gets behind and, like, lights it up. He's like,
yeah.
That's great. But yeah, no, I would still definitely recommend it, even with all its faults.
Yeah, and hard segue into our next topic. I got a PS4 recently, so I've been playing a PS4 game.
Dude, rich guy over here.
Yeah, no, actually, one of my
super rich.
One of my friends upgraded to a PS4 Pro, and he very generously just gave me his old one, and he lent me The Last Guardian, which I've been playing.
By the way, do you actually know the difference between the two? Because I'm kind of lost as to why. Like, it's 4K or something?
One's called the PS4, and the other one's called
all right.
the PS4 Pro.
All right, so the other one's for pro gamers.
Yeah.
Must be.
One of them can run Assassin's Creed at 30 frames per second. You hear that?
What, 30?
Yeah, that's right.
30? Did you know the human eye can only see
that? Fuck up. Okay, so
The Last Guardian.
The Last Guardian. I have been waiting for this game for like 20 years. I honestly, like, when it came out, I was just like, do I even care anymore? It's been so fucking long, you know? And just from what I've played so far, I can tell you that it's really fucking good, in my opinion. I know it got really mixed reviews, but if you're a fan of, like, Shadow of the Colossus or Eco, like, it feels like one of those games, and everything about, like, the puzzles, the levels, and, like, one thing they do really great is the scale of Trico himself. When he moves and when he jumps to stuff, it actually feels like there's, like, a giant, like, beast around you, or, like, the way the screen shakes when he jumps, or, like, something. I mean, these are the guys that did Shadow of the Colossus.
They know anything about scale.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the bird, from what I've seen, looks pretty small compared to the Colossus. But it's, like, 2 stories...
Depends on which one you're talking about.
Okay, yeah, that's true. But I was watching you play it. It had, like, this... It has that same feeling, like... It's almost like a dream-like game. And I was commenting while you were playing. I was like, dude, I love that. There's absolutely no HUD here.
Yeah.
It's just you in the game, and I love that.
It's a really immersive game because of that, and that's kind of the point of it, because you're supposed to, like, build a bond with the Trico, because Trico has to listen to what you do, or he has to trust you in order to do things. So things can be done faster, basically, if he trusts you more or something like that. Because there's honestly times where I'm just sitting there like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? And then I'm sitting on Trico, and then he'll just go somewhere, and I'm like, oh, okay. So it's so weird, because I understand people, like, give it a hard time because of that. And if you're not a fan of, like, the Fumito Ueda's games, it's like, yeah, you're probably gonna, like, be pretty harsh on this game. But just the nature of it, the fact that, like, you're this little kid, and there's this animal that is untamed here, like, it's just so cool to me. Because when he actually does do something, it feels super rewarding, you know?
Almost like you've trained a dog kind of thing?
Well, kind of, but almost like if your dog, like, I don't know, if he did something cool and you just happen to catch that while you were watching him, it's like, oh, wow, look at that. Like, look what he's doing. Or, like, if you see a fucking deer in the forest and you're just, oh, my God, look at that deer. He's eating he's drinking out of a pond. Like, that's so beautiful. Yeah. Like, it's just kind of like that kind of, like, nature's beauty kind of thing, you know. That's what it has to it.
That does sound pretty cool, and, like, that game's artwork is always really, really impressive, and that's saying something, because the graphics I mentioned this too while you were playing. I was like, they seemed a little dated, but at the same time, they look really good.
Yeah, they do. For anyone that doesn't know, it's supposed to be on PS3.
Yeah.
It was all this shit. Yeah, at one point there was just their website with like a single image of like a chain going into a hole. There was nothing.
A feather.
There was nothing. There was like nothing for so long, and then finally the fucking game came out. They had problems apparently with hardware limitations because, as you can see, Trico has all these feathers all over him.
Yeah. And that's probably why they waited to put it on the PS4.
Yeah, and there's not really any load times. You traverse the whole world seamlessly, basically. Right.
But everything's like I saw you playing, everything's reactive. Like the grass is reactive, the butterflies and all the little sprites that are around you, everything's reactive.
And things will crumble if like Trico jumps on it and stuff. Right. It's such a fucking cool game, dude. Like I don't know. I hate to just keep gushing about how much I like it, but one thing I wanted to say real fast, because I haven't beaten it, obviously. I'm maybe like halfway through it. There's this part in it that's so fucking cool, but as I was watching it, I was just like, this would be a million times better if I didn't already see it at E3 during their like trailer.
Oh no, I know which part you're talking about.
Yeah, so it's just like
they showed off the best part then.
Yeah, like no, not the best part, but it's definitely a part that like it would have way more impact had you not known that was gonna happen. Basically,
that makes sense.
So like, there's a, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Let me just take a stab at it. This is part where like this bridge is crumbling. And you're on one bridge and he's on another. And you basically have to get him to come over and catch you. While the whole thing is crumpling.
You jump, and it looks like he's gonna catch you with his mouth. He misses.
He catches you with his
tail.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
But had you not seen that trailer, it would have had such more meaning, because you would actually be taking a leap of faith. You understand? Like
and then that whole scene where he misses you with the big, and you're like, oh damn it,
exactly.
And then he catches you with the tail. You were like, no, I get that.
It would have been cool, but I mean, I don't know. I'm just, that was just kind of a weird point to bring up, I guess, because
maybe that's why they waited so long. They want you to forget about it.
Yeah. No, I honestly don't know why they do that, but whatever.
Well, maybe they didn't think it was the best part, but movies do that a lot too, where they show you the best parts in the movie, and you go to watch it. You're like, the best parts of it were the trailer. I just watched the trailer.
I'm not saying it was the best part of it, though. I'm just saying
it was one of the better parts.
It would have been great had it been a surprise. That wasn't a good part to show off in the trailer. I understand they're trying to sell a game here.
Yeah.
But I would just say, like, if you haven't seen any trailers or anything for Last Guardian, just don't watch anything. Just play it.
Of the two games, Colossus and Ico, which one do you think it's more similar to?
It's kind of like both, actually.
Well, because Ico, I know you're in a castle.
Ico, you're in a castle. And Yorda, the girl that you have, she helps you figure out puzzles.
Right.
Similar to how you use Trico to figure out puzzles.
Man, like Colossus, you're all out on your own.
But Trico is the fucking size of a Colossus, so that's what I mean by it's similar to.
I guess so, and it does. I mean, the animation of him climbing up on the bird.
It looks
very familiar.
Yeah, it looks exactly.
So I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the controls are super fucking weird, just like Shadow Colossus or like Ico.
Is there a grip controller? What do you mean? Right, like when you grip, you have to like.
He actually just holds on automatically.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have like a stamina thing, does he?
No.
No. He just...
I mean, that was more of a Shadow Colossus lends itself more to that because you're actually holding on for dear life.
Right.
And there's like a, it's part of that game.
I get it.
This is more just like you have to hold on because he's gonna be jumping around. If they had a fucking stamina meter, it would suck.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's basically a mix of both, like elements from both those games, and it's just if you like the games before, like you're definitely gonna fucking like this game. It's really cool.
You said you're halfway through?
Something like that. Yeah, it's about 15 hours, I think. I've been playing like nonstop. I have not been animating. I'm sorry, guys. I've been playing this fucking game.
Shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
You're gonna get some hate in the comments. Get back to animating.
Yeah.
When's our next Oni cartoon?
Yeah. Oni plays. No, I'm working on a cartoon right now, and I'll do an Oni Plays animated afterwards. That's pretty much it though. That's all we got for this week, right? I don't think.
Well, we're gonna try to talk about the Shovel Knight, but I'll just say this then: that game is a game that keeps on giving, man.
Yeah.
Because the fact that I bought the game and I got 3 other games out of it,
right?
So awesome.
Yeah, and they have Amiibo now. They have new Amiibo.
That's so good.
That's pretty cool.
So good, dude.
Yeah. If I'm being completely honest, though, I'll probably just wait till they're all like $2 on fucking Amazon, because that's what ends up happening with these things.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that we're not in the... Like, I missed the Amiibo hunt.
Okay.
Like, that was really cool. Like, that was... Like, for those 2-3 months, I think it was.
Yeah.
That was a really cool time where we're like, dude, they have a pit at the Best Buy and freaking... Where did we go?
I don't know, it was like Ontario.
Ontario, let's go!
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool.
It was cool for a while. I mean, I feel bad for people that bought Villager for like $110.
Yeah.
I remember
sucks,
that,
dude.
and I was like, dude, this is going to be worth like nothing. These things aren't going to hold their value. That's why I refused to buy any of them if they were anything above
we
cost.
just bought them at the stores.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. That's what was
like
cool
we
about
went
the
out of our
hunt.
way to like go on eBay or anything.
No. It was like if we see it there, we just went to different Targets and Best Buys. So like, hey, do you have any Ikes or Pits or?
I ended up giving most of mine away too, just because.
You had a lot of doubles though.
Yeah, but I had friends that were just like, my little brother's never found like a certain. He's like, he's never found a nest before. I'm like, oh. I was like, well, I have one that's covered in dust, and he's just sitting on my fucking, like, on my shelf.
I remember the one that was hard for me to get. You got one. I think you got one.
What?
It was Captain Falcon in the very beginning. And that's all he's doing right now is sitting over there. But
Captain Falcon? Yeah, right.
Falcon was the one who finally got, like, a pre-order out of nowhere. I was just like, got him.
Yeah.
He was at Best Buy.
And then at one point, GameStop had, like, this... They had their own display that said, like, oh, look what's back. Like, and it had, like, Captain Falcon, it had Fox, it had, like...
all the ones that were hard to get, and they just like, hey, look, this shipment finally came in.
Yeah, I was like, what the yeah, whatever.
I
don't know what the fuck... I don't know what they're thinking with these fucking Amiibo. I mean, I'm so glad we got a Super Nintendo Classic. Jesus Christ, dude. You remember... I was on Twitter, and I got, like, somebody put up Super Nintendo Classic at Best Buy, and I ran over to Ernie and I said, "It's on Best Buy right now. Go get it."
And I got it,
and we got one.
I got it, and then the next day everybody was telling me, "Dude, GameStop canceled all their orders," and they're like, "Oh crap!" And then they're like, "Well, Target's pretty good. They'll probably say they're like, oh, Target canceled all this." I was like, "Damn it, Best Buy's probably next, right?" And then Walmart canceled. Like nobody took pre-orders. I keep checking like every day. Super Nintendo Classic still on there.
GameStop had this fucking thing where they're like, oh, our website's fucking up, but go to this other site. And they would link you to, like, Think Geek, right? And they had the Super Nintendo Classic bundled with, like, a fucking tractor for, like, $4,000.
What?
Yeah, so they were just like, go ahead and get it like that. And it's like, no. Are you serious? I just want to play fucking Star Fox. Like, I don't want to go...
Star Fox, dude. Yeah. Which is funny, because if you want to play that, a way better version than Star Fox 2... Buy Star Fox Zero, man. The whole thing about Star Fox 2 was like, the Arwing can change.
The chicken walker thing.
It can turn into the chicken walker and do this whole mission. That's basically what they ended up doing in Star Fox Zero. But it's way easier to do it there.
Yeah, fucking... Star Fox...
I'm getting it because it got Mario RPG on that.
Yeah, Star Fox 2 runs at like fucking 12 frames per second. That's not an exaggeration either.
No.
I think it runs at 12 frames per second.
I believe you. I believe you. But, you know, the PlayStation Pro can run it at 30 frames per second.
Yeah,
so
okay.
There's that.
Mario RPG, that's a good one. I mean, we've already talked about it, dude, but the list of games is fucking solid. I'm excited
It is really solid. Plus, you know, we're going to hack they're going to make it hackable. You just know it. And as soon as that comes up, I'm going to put all sorts of crap on there.
Yeah.
I'll finally play the Secret of Mana series, because everybody's always like, dude, you like Mario RPG? You like Final Fantasy? You gotta play Secret of Mana.
There's only one on Super Nintendo, I believe.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crappy.
It's a good game, though.
Well, I gotta play it now. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
There's tons of Super Nintendo games.
Last thing I'll say. I didn't know that it worked like this until I saw the commercial. The front of it, like, flaps open.
Yeah, so you can put the controller ports
That was stupid. I don't like that.
What do you mean you don't like that?
I don't like that, dude. Just make the front... like pluggable. I don't want.
No, because you gotta leave that aesthetic in there. Because that's the they didn't do that with the Super.
What Nintendo console that has a fucking flap has actually stayed on? I am the only person that has a Wii that has the flaps on it.
Damn it, you're right.
The controller things on top,
too.
They fucking break off and nobody wants
well, because they just permanently stay off.
Those Mad Cat sticks with the controller port with the flap, that thing breaks off, dude. You don't think the fucking SNES Classic thing is gonna break? Well, whatever. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. All right, guys. That was this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it.
And go watch Defenders.
Sure.
It's great series. Great series.
Thanks for listening, guys. See you next week.
See ya.